This is the CNC Router Tips Podcast, episode number 15.
We talked about something that we could do together, and it just made really good sense. My husband has an amazing workshop, and he was the one that suggested that we get a CNC machine, and together he would teach me the basics of woodworking. And when we finally decided to make the plunge, it was our 30th wedding anniversary gift to each other.
This is the CNC Router Tips Podcast, a show which answers one question from you, the listener, about CNC router tables, CNC software, hardware, web hosting, and business. I'll help you get started in your CNC hobby or business and help you cut through the confusion.
Today's episode is sponsored by TheMakersGuide.com. The Maker's Guide. Useful tools for makers.
Hi, welcome to another episode of the CNC Router Tips Podcast. I'm your host, Bill Griggs, and I'm so glad that you could make it today. We are talking about CNC router tables and, how to operate them, and we're answering questions about CNC router tables. And this is part of a series that not only answers the question of can you build a business around a CNC router table, but actually meets with real people just like you and me who have gone out and created their own business based on the CNC router table. I think you're going to enjoy today's guest, Johanna Haack, and her husband, Brian. And they're going to talk about what they did together to build a business with a CNC router table. Today I'm very fortunate to be talking with one of my heroes, actually, from the Twitter world. I first came in contact with Johanna Haack on my Twitter feed. We were both watching a weekly woodworking conversation that was happening on Twitter. And Johanna posted some pictures of some of the work that she was doing, and I was very impressed with it. So I'd like to introduce you to Johanna Haack.
Hello.
How are you today? I'm
doing pretty well, thank you.
Yeah. Now, it took a little bit of convincing for me to get you to come onto the podcast, and I'm glad that you finally did, because I've been admiring your work for quite a while.
Well, thank you very much. And yeah, I'm stepping outside my comfort zone, but I'm going to give it a shot.
That's all we ask. You do a lot of 3D carving work. Now, you're also a husband-wife team. Your husband Brian and you both have been doing woodworking for quite a lot of years, or is that the case?
Actually, my husband has been doing woodworking for as long as I've known him, and his passion became mine. I just kind of watched all the beautiful things that he made over the years. Mm-hmm. I just became fascinated with woodworking.
So what? Now you weren't working in woodworking full time at that point. You were doing something else.
Right. I was a medical transcriptionist probably for since 1998, and in 2013 we actually discussed about starting a business that the two of us could retire from our current positions and do this together moving forward. Unfortunately, I suffered an elbow injury and was no longer able to type, so the transition for me was sudden.
So you injured your elbow, and suddenly you had to accelerate your plans to get started in the woodworking business, way beyond what you had planned, way before you were ready?
Right. We were kind of just doing it together, and after I hurt my elbow, I had surgery, and I wasn't able to type anymore. So then I was in a position where I was working on the business full time.
Okay. So you had no real previous woodworking experience before that?
The only woodworking experience I have was admiring the wonderful work that my husband created over all the years.
Mm-hmm. So do you do a lot of the design work that you do, laying? By that I mean the layout of what it is that you're going to make?
Well, I had to learn everything. I had to learn all the things about wood. I had to learn about the CNC machine. I had to learn Aspire. So I started by taking existing models that were offered and just started to learn how to run the CNC machine, to understand what woods would work well for certain designs, and just started to learn how the Aspire worked. I don't make my own models. There are so many talented individuals and companies that make the 3D models that I decided to focus on learning how to take the individual models and make new components to cut. And that's been a couple-year process.
Mm-hmm. Your work is amazing. We'll put a link in the show notes to your website. But tell folks what your website is, where they can see your work.
thewoodgraingallery.com.
Okay. Now, let's back up a minute. So, your husband was in woodworking. You probably had a woodworking shop. What was the conversation like when he mentioned that he would like to get a CNC router?
Well, we talked about something that we could do together, and it just made really good sense. My husband has an amazing workshop, and he was the one that suggested that we get a CNC machine, and together he would teach me the basics of woodworking. And when we finally decided to make the plunge, we purchased a Cam Master Stinger 2. Mm-hmm. It was our 30th wedding anniversary gift to each other.
Oh, that is nice. I really like the Cam Master machines. I have no affiliation with the company for the folks who are listening, but they look like they make a very sturdy machine. They're located in Georgia, I believe. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I have to give credit to my husband because he did extensive research on the different machines that were available, and we ended up going with the Cam Master.
Yeah. Now, I personally I built my own machine back in the day, mainly just for the economics of it. It was something I could do, a bit at a time. But what is interesting to me about the Cam Master line of machines is that they're ready-made. They ship a crate to your house, and you open up the box, and you're pretty much ready to go that day.
Well, for me, when I had so much to learn about CNC machines, about the bits, about the wood, learning the CNC software, it uses CNC Win, and then learning Aspire, and then learning the marketing. Prior to the Wood Grain Gallery, I wasn't on Facebook or Twitter. So there was just so much to learn that we just decided getting a machine all ready would be something that would work best for us.
Yeah. One of our good friends, Dave Van Antwerp, decided to go the opposite route, and he built his own machine. But I understand you two are neighbors, and
I consider him a great friend.
Yeah. And Dave, what's cool about Dave is he's rolled up his sleeves and he learned every aspect of everything. But he's made the comment to me that you are so much further ahead because you started with a ready-made machine instead of the process, building it yourself. I'm kind of ambivalent about that because I think in some ways when you build a machine yourself, you learn all the ins and outs of it if you have to make a repair or if something's not working correctly, you probably know it. But when you purchase a ready-made machine, you're able to use it quicker. So 6 of one and half dozen of the other. There is no right answer to that equation. It's just the right answer for the person.
Exactly. I just don't have the mechanical mindset to really to even try that challenge. So you just have to pick and choose what is best for you.
Yes, I agree. Now, you mentioned that you hadn't figured out how you were going to create your web presence and how you were going to get out there and market your product. What path did you choose?
Well, I originally started with a shop on Amazon and found out very quickly that I didn't have the knowledge to get my shop promoted. And someone recommended that I try listing my shop on Etsy. And for me, that has worked out really well. Probably a year after that, I tried to make my own website on theweebly.com. That was a challenge to learn all that. And we recently had someone do it for us, develop a WordPress website, which we are very happy with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, WordPress is the platform that I use for my website. There are a lot of WordPress sites out there. It's important when you're looking at these new things that you're trying to do in a business that if you don't have the expertise or the time to learn it, that you should go out and find somebody who already has that expertise and just get them to do it for you.
Right, and it becomes a financial decision. But when you finally realize that you need to have a professional-looking website and you want to grow your business, for me, it was time to go from doing it yourself to have someone develop it for me.
Mm-hmm. How long a process was that for you?
I would say the process took several months. But I find that woodworking, the art side of it, there took a lot of time to find the right keywords, to find the right way to market the website. Because it's such a particular niche, 3D carving. It's not like you're opening up a sign shop or something that's very familiar out there.
Mm-hmm.
And so we spent a lot of time working on that part of it.
And did you do the keyword research yourself?
I've done a little bit, but to be real honest, that is outside my wheelhouse. When I finally made the decision to have them do it, that was part of what I asked them to do.
Okay. So they did all the keyword research and probably the search engine optimization for your SEO.
Yes.
Yeah, for your site, and that was included in their fees when they developed your website.
Yeah. So what's great is that when you find someone, you can let them know what your budget is, and then they can kind of tell you what they can do for you. And so it becomes a financial decision for your company.
Mm-hmm. For those of you who are wondering what that jingling sound is, one of the things that Johanna does is she raises rescue dogs. And that's one of her pups in the background.
Yep. A little Yorkie.
Yeah. That one's a Yorkie. Yep.
Yes.
Yep. What other rescue dogs have you, what other breeds have you had?
Once we started doing rescue, we didn't do with a particular breed. It was just kind of on a as-needed basis. We've had mostly non-breeds. We've had just your traditional mutts,
Mm-hmm.
ones that need a home.
Yeah, it's a very good thing that you're doing. So let's talk about Etsy for a second now. I don't know a thing. Well, that's not exactly true. I don't know the ins and outs of Etsy. I know that Etsy exists, and there are thousands of craftsmen who are putting their work up on Etsy, but I don't know the ins and outs. Could you talk a little bit about your experience with Etsy?
It's been a learning experience. Basically, it's very easy to set up your Etsy shop, and it's very much like doing your own website. You got to make sure you have the right pictures, the right keywords. But the most difficult part is once you are there to be found. And what I really liked about Etsy is that they have teams and forums that you can join. And so you need to be proactive to promote your website, whether it's a traditional business one on your own, or if you go with a group like Etsy or Amazon or eBay. The work just starts the minute you open up your shop.
It's Etsy.com?
Yes.
Yeah. So let's talk about a particular product. So what's the process from, the beginning? Let's say you just came up with a new picture frame and you want to list it on Etsy. What do you do?
Well, there is an option where you can add a new listing, and you have an option to post 5 different pictures. We choose to do 4 pictures plus 1 picture of the different woods that we offer and the different stains. It's a chart. Then basically what you do is you have to give your product a title. And then it asks you a lot of different questions about, who made it, when was it made, is it something you can buy now, or is it a custom order? Then it gives you an opportunity to actually describe your product. And it's a great opportunity to kind of introduce what you're doing. So you can talk about the product, you can talk about how it's made, how it inspires you. Is it a gift? Is it a home improvement item? Then you get to choose what kind of category it's going to be listed in, and then these categories you actually set up in your shop, where you can have picture frames, home decor, Christian, however you want to set it up. Mm-hmm. Then what I really like about Etsy is that what we focus on is giving our customers options. They might come to your shop and they might find something that they really like, but it's the wrong size, or they don't like the wood, or they'd rather have it stained in a different way, or they want something that fits into their budget. Mm-hmm. And so you are able to list your product and list the different wood options and the different sizes available. And I found that our customers have really kind of latched on to that. Personalization is like the biggest key. People want to put their name on it or a dedication. So Etsy gives you an opportunity to list those options for you. And they also have a custom order request button. So if they find a part that they like, a listing, but they want to customize it different than what you have offered, they can contact you and say, I really love that deer clock, but I was wondering if you could make it in the shape of a square instead of oval. And it gives you an opportunity to really interact with your customers and hear what they would like.
Mm-hmm. Now, when you do these listings, obviously Etsy is promoting the listing through its search engine, correct?
I'm not sure how they list it. I know that if you do a search, it'll come up. I don't know if they have their own server.
Mm-hmm. So now the main question that everybody asks is, can you make a business around Etsy and more than just pocket change?
I believe that you can, but it is like any other business. You need to put the time into marketing. There's no quick build up your business. It takes a lot of hard work and time, and it's word of mouth and how people find you, and that's just a process that takes time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's funny. People always are looking for the magic bullet. They're saying, "Well, wow, I want to be a millionaire, today, or I want to, start a business and make crazy money, this weekend." And the reality is that very seldom happens, if ever. you've always got to put in the work.
You do, and it's our business plan is focused on custom art. So we want to be able to offer a service to our customers where they can let us know what they're looking for, and we can develop a unique piece for them to give them the buying experience of getting something that their friends don't have hanging on their wall, or give a gift at Christmas that they already don't have 4 or 5 of.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to give that unique buying experience. Yeah, and that takes time to let people know that.
And giving them exactly what it is that they want, rather than, settling for something that looks kind of like what they want.
Exactly.
Yeah. And, that's a unique selling proposition, in my opinion. Now, you started doing business on Etsy how long ago?
We actually opened up our shop in September of 2013.
Okay. You also have your own website, which you listed earlier, the woodgraingallery.com?
Yes.
Okay. Which came first?
The Etsy shop came first.
Mm-hmm.
But I will tell you that I am a vendor on a website called custommade.com, which I try to promote to all my customers because it's a wonderful site where you can go and list what you want, the budget, and you will get vendors who will send you proposals. And it's great because it's building furniture, it's jewelry, it's everything. So I'd like to promote, I'm a vendor for custommade.com, but it's a great website to offer customers who are looking for that special buying experience, not just in what the Wood Grain Gallery has to offer, but so many other really great vendors.
One of the things that is unique about what you're doing with your carvings is that Brian is adding additional detail to the carving after you're done, using his own woodworking skills.
Absolutely. He actually doesn't get the credit that's deserved because there's just so much work in taking the CNC part and making it ready for shipping. I have the feeling that people think that CNC machines are just this machine that cuts out these perfect parts, and they do a really good job if you really slow the speed down and you really do the detail. But there's never a part that comes off the CNC machine that I could just package and send out. He takes so much time to really finish the product, to give the high quality carving that we advertise.
Mm-hmm.
It's labor intensive, and he enjoys doing it, but it's really the behind the scenes that a lot of people don't understand happens after you cut the part on the CNC machine.
Yeah, one of the things that I notice about the pictures that I've seen you post is the finish is always amazing. A lot of folks don't even bother to sand their work after it comes off the machine. They figure a 16th inch ball nose, finishing path would give them, just a finish that's good enough that they could just throw the stain on it and send it out the door. And that's not the case with your work.
No, Brian hand sands and hand stains and hand finishes each part, and it's a process that is not just done once. You have to sand and resand, and there's just a lot of work that he puts into it.
Now, is your business the full income for your family?
No, it's our hope that one day it will be, but today it's not.
Mm-hmm. Did you come up with a business plan, a traditional, conventional business plan, when you decided that you would do this?
To be honest, no, we did not. We were both working on this with the notion that we would still have our full-time jobs. Both of us would still be working. We'd be developing this, and that would be something that we'd work towards. But we never really officially sat down and did a business plan.
Mm-hmm. Do you think it would have helped had you done that?
I'm not really sure. We had I really don't know.
Yeah. One of the reasons I specifically asked that is because a lot of times a business plan is really just something that you have to show the bank when you want to ask for money. And in most cases with these CNC routers, you're not really asking for money. You've already got the machine or, the wood. Yeah.
Exactly.
So, you're just getting ready and going, getting going and making whatever it is that you plan to make your money.
Right. We're building the business on the income that it generates, and it's self-sustained. We just move forward, expand, and we never went the route of going to the bank for financing.
Now, were you able to pay off your machine?
We paid cash for our machine.
Oh, that's awesome. But what I meant was you've been able to generate enough business from the machine that you could have paid off the machine.
Yes.
Yeah. So, because I have that question a lot as well from people, what can they do? One of the reasons that we're talking about all of these aspects of the business right now is because, people often ask, can you make a business with a CNC router table? And it's really nice that you and a few other people have come on to talk about what you're doing, to have your business go forward with the CNC router.
Right. We never really approached it from a hobby aspect. It's always been the focus for it to be a successful business.
Okay, so far we've been hearing from Johanna about building her business, and it's a family business. And when we were talking earlier, I mentioned to her that I would love to have her husband come on the air with us too, but he was a little bit hesitant at first, but she managed to convince him. So, hi, Brian.
Hello.
Hi. So, you and your wife have been building a business together. Tell us a little bit about what you do in the business.
Well, Johanna takes all the orders and talks with the customers, and that's the hard part. To try to figure out exactly what the customer has in their head, or they've got a vision of something. And when it comes to art, it's real arbitrary. So she takes it from concept to getting an actual photograph that the person can look at and see and tweak. And after she gets that settled, then she turns it over to me. And depending on the type of carving or the type of detail and the type of wood that the customer wants, I can make up the blank and decide what has to be done. There's lots of times the customer really won't know what kind of wood they want because they're not familiar with wood. But that makes a big difference when it comes to how much detail, a real fine detail that the part has. For a good example is hickory. I love hickory. It's a beautiful wood, but it's a fuzzy wood. So when you get into real fine detail, you've got, hours and hours of sanding that real fine fuzz off the part. So I try to steer them away from that and go to something like maple or cherry or something better. And then there's oak and ash, and a lot of people have got red oak in their mind for some reason. And a lot of times that doesn't work for real fine detail because of the heavy grain. You'll lose a lot of the detail there. So it's kind of steering the customer towards what you think they'll be happy with without telling them no.
Yeah, I've noticed that with the oak that we get that real heavy wood grain pattern. In fact, I did a Holstein sign for someone, and that was one of the issues with it because it has such a strong grain pattern. It can sometimes obscure the carving. So,
right.
So typically, Johanna does the the contact with the customer, and you both work together on the CNC, or is the CNC work primarily yours, Ryan?
Well, as far as maintaining it, yeah, I'm an engineer by trade, so I know the ins and outs of machinery. So that I take care of that. As far as setting up the machine, the program, and everything, Johanna goes out and plugs everything in and pushes start.
Mm-hmm.
From there on, it's my baby.
How is it? And I'm going to ask this question of both of you. If you would take a moment and think about it. How is it working with your spouse in a business? What are the upsides, and what are the challenges?
Well, it's one of the if you want me to go first here.
Sure, you go ahead.
I think one of the ongoing challenges is I've been woodworking since I was 5, I think. My father owned a lumber yard, and so I think I built my first lathe when I was 10. But I take for granted that Johanna knows about grains and woods and stuff like that, when I shouldn't. She's fantastic now, but in the beginning, I took for granted that she'd understand different kinds of grain, different kind of wood, different kind of wood processes, and a simple thing like knowing how to read a micrometer. So,
reading a micrometer is not that simple.
Yeah, we had a problem with decimal points for a while. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
So.
Well, the standing joke at our house is when we first started that we heat with wood, and so the standing joke was the first year we didn't have to worry about kindling because of all of my mistakes. We had enough for the year.
Yeah, I think I'm just beginning now, after maybe 6 years of CNC, that my expectation now is when I get it down off the machine and finished, that it will be a good product. It took a while before I was comfortable with the process, because I didn't know woodworking when I started. So yeah, there's a lot to learn.
Well, the only way that it really works for us is that there's mutual respect between the two of us. We've been married over 30 years, so we really know how to communicate with each other. And basically, I just am very humble. It's like when I don't understand, you need to explain it to me. And I'm one of those people that if your explanation doesn't make sense, I'll say you'll have to explain it a different way. And he has a lot of patience for that, because I'm not a spatial person. I'm not mechanically inclined. So he's been a great teacher, and so that's what's been helpful for me on my end, to feel like I'm a successful part of the business.
Brian, what function in the business does Johanna do that you just simply could not do on your own?
Well, as far as being comfortable with dealing with the customers, she's got the personality to deal with customers, irregardless of what kind of person it is. I mean, we've talked to some people that are pretty high class, and she deals with the whole gambit, and her communication is fantastic with them.
Yeah, I can feel that just talking with her. I don't know why in the world, Johanna, that you were hesitant to come on this podcast, because you sound very, very professional, very comfortable.
Thank you. I feel comfortable talking about other people and their strengths, and I feel comfortable doing that.
Mm-hmm. So where do you two envision this going?
My dream is eventually for my husband and I to be able to do this full time, and that this is our full-time income. We'd like to be able to concentrate on, when we get up in the morning, we're thinking about the wood grain gallery. The things that we're doing for the day are about the wood grain gallery, and We go to bed at night, we have this list, okay, these are the things we need to do tomorrow for our business.
Brian, with that and with what Johanna just said in mind, how far in your mind are you away from that dream?
Oh, now that she's got a very nice website, I think it's a lot closer than what it was. In fact, we met with a very large business just yesterday, and they're putting up a huge old folks. What would you call it?
It's assisted living.
Assisted living, and it's the size of a hotel. I mean, this is mammoth, and he wants everything customized with cherubs and angels and so on and so forth. And he really doesn't have any place he can go to get that. There's nothing out there that he can just go shopping for exactly what he wants.
Mm-hmm.
Because everything is very specially customized for its location, for what different signs, different cherubs, different bulletin boards and all this kind of thing. And if we get into that, and if we can get some interest built up for cabinet makers or contractors that are building doors and cabinets, and get them to realize that they can do so much more for their customers by adding just a little bit of CNC to their work. I think once we get that out there, then we can build on that. I think it's very close.
Mm-hmm. Okay, here's a question for both of you, and I'd like to hear your separate answers. Okay, so who wants to go first?
I'll go first.
Okay, so the question is: imagine for a moment that you can't fail. Okay, and that whatever you attempt will be a success.
Mm-hmm.
You've got all the equipment you need, you've got access to all the wood you need, and you have all the time you need. And most importantly, you have the money you need to fund it. What one single project would you work on if you knew you couldn't fail?
Today's episode is sponsored by The Maker's Guide, creator of the Triple Edge Finder. Get the edge you need, save time and frustration on your CNC project, and make setup a snap. Save time and material. Set up your workpiece on your CNC Router Table faster than ever. Accurately set your Z-axis height first time, every time. Automatically locate the corner or edge of a workpiece. Reset your starting point in the middle of a program. Quality crafted right here in the USA on US-made CNC machines. Get the edge you need today. Go to www.themakersguide.com/edge. The Maker's Guide. Useful tools for makers.
Imagine for a moment that you can't fail, and that whatever you attempt will be a success. You've got all the equipment you need, you've got access to all the wood you need, and you have all the time you need. And most importantly, you have the money you need to fund it. What one single project would you work on if you knew you couldn't fail?
For me, I would love to be involved in some donations and some fundraisers for causes that are important to me. I just really think you need to pay it forward. I just feel like if you're a successful business, then there's always an opportunity that you should grasp to promote others and to be able to showcase our work, whether it's a donation for a charity or for your local boosters for your school funding or whatever, to be able to help raise money and awareness. I would really love to have the freedom to be able to do those kinds of things.
If you could choose one charity right now, which one would it be?
Well, actually, we just finished one in October. It was for Bird Dogs for Autism. It's an annual charity that's done by the Bird Dogs of New York. And they actually found our Etsy shop. And she contacted us and wanted to know if we would be interested in donating a piece for the charity. And we've had some exposure to autism. And we just thought it was a great cause. And what we ended up doing was, and Brian helped with the design. He was very key in that. We made a walnut wall-hanging weather station. It was in the shape of the state of New York. And then in the upper right-hand corner was a bird dog, just the face, and from the mouth was hanging a bird. And then in the long part of New York, we had the weather station, the barometer, and the thermometer. And then in the lower left-hand corner near Long Island, we had a pointing dog. And that was our donation. And it was exciting to do. It made us feel really good to do. And the feedback that we got from the charity was that it was well received, and it was a great addition to their silent auction, and that just made us feel good. It made me feel really good.
That's awesome. If you have a picture of that, I'd love to post that with the show notes for our listeners to take a peek at.
That'd be great.
Yeah. So how about you, Brian?
Oh, that's a difficult question. I agree with Johanna. Everybody has to give back, and we have to the extent that we can. But one of the things, and I don't know how I would even go about doing it, but I think one of the things that I think society needs is there's a lot of knowledge that is not being passed on to next generations. And all your listeners, I'm sure, are woodworkers, and they probably feel the same way that carpentry or woodworking skills or really any kind of, even in engineering, I see the young engineers coming up and wow, the knowledge isn't there. There's nothing being passed on. There's no mentoring. It's so sterile. And I think woodworking or carpentry or anything like that is going to be a lost art. And here we are doing exactly what I'm preaching not to do. And we're running the CNC, modernizing woodworking, but nevertheless, I don't see the next generation coming up to where they could actually make something themselves. If they can't go buy it, they don't have it.
I think perhaps that it's actually going to be the opposite effect. I think the CNC will actually bring more people into woodworking because I didn't have I didn't have woodworking experience when I built my CNC, and because of that, I'm now going back and learning things like joinery and intarsia for just all these little sub sets of woodworking are coming open to me because I've been exposed to the CNC end of things, and I want to take my woodworking to the next level. It is possible to get somebody interested through CNC and then take them through conventional woodworking as well.
One of the things that I was trying to be very sensitive to when I first opened the shop on Etsy was to find a path to promote CNC as a way for people who can't do that themselves, that they can get into a CNC business to create beautiful woodwork and wood carvings. But I really stay away from any venue where I find myself in direct competition for the wood carvers, because first of all, my husband is a wonderful wood carver. He does it manually. I know he didn't tell you that, but he does. And so I've seen firsthand how much talent, how much hard work, how long it takes for someone to make a handmade piece of wood carving. And so I try to stay away from shows and venues where you're in direct competition, because I don't want to degrade the art of the wood carver. And it's kind of a balancing act, because people make quilts today using these really beautiful computerized machines. So it's the time period that we live in. But I just am very sensitive to not insulting or, really I want to promote hand wood carvers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, one of the things that I've had conversations with a lot of woodworkers through Twitter and through other avenues, and they view sometimes CNC as cheating. Yeah, you can make that with the machine, and you're going to spit out 1,000 of them. But it's very rare for me to make more than one of anything, because I like the custom-made, one-of-a-kind projects that I can make with the CNC. I let my mind wander and, run and come up with original pieces of work.
That's exactly what we do on our site. We actually advertise that we don't mass produce our parts. Like we'll make a piece and it'll be listed, and if it's sold out, you can order it again. But we like to let our customers know that if you order a piece, you can customize it. And so, we don't make 20, 30, 40, 50 of the same parts and then just put them up there. It's very unique, and we try to promote the custom carving aspect of the CNC business.
Mm-hmm. One of the things that I do is not exactly related to CNC routers, but to CNC machining. I am an adjunct instructor at a state college, and we work with the mechanical engineering technology students.
Whoa!
Yeah, and so when we're teaching these kids, one of the projects that we did at the school was we built a CNC router table. And it was really interesting to watch, the light come on in the students' eyes when they realized that not only could they tackle a project and understand each aspect of it, but once they were done with that project, they had a tool that they could use to make other tools. It was amazing, and just watching the things that developed out of that program, it's really humbling and awe-inspiring. And I kind of would like to do the same thing with the CNC router table in maybe a makerspace type environment or anything. Are there any things like that where you are?
Not that I'm aware of, but it sounds like something you and Brian would be really good at. You guys have the same give it back, mentoring, teach others kind of attitude.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm really glad you came on this podcast, Brian. It really adds another dimension to the husband-wife business model. That's awesome.
Well, I know we don't have the video on, but he had to let one of our dogs out.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's live. That's live. Things happen like that. So, how can people find you?
Well, they can find us at thewoodgraingallery.com. We have a Twitter account. You can find us on Facebook.
What is your Twitter handle?
The Wood Grain Gallery, or the Wood Grain Gal.
At the Wood Grain Gal.
Yes.
Yep. Okay. And on Facebook, do you have a Facebook page as well?
It's hooked up to our Etsy shop, so it would be Etsy shop, then the Facebook. I don't have the address in front of me.
Yeah, but you can send that to me, and we can put it and include it in the show notes. Is there anything that you're working on right now that you're really excited about that you'd like to to talk about before we say goodbye to our listeners?
One of the latest projects that I'm working on is kind of a version of a shadow box. And what it does is you can either take an existing component, or like what I've done in some cases, I've made a component, it's a background, and then I've actually put a picture frame in front of it so that when it is carved and it's hanging on the wall, you have the feeling that you're actually looking outside the window and you actually see that, the scene, which is kind of a different version of a wood carving that I'm pretty excited about. And one of the neat things in the developers of our WordPress website is we have a separate listing called Custom 3D Wood Carving. And basically that is a gallery that is filled with just the CAD renderings of different ideas that I've come up with. And basically I use that as a kind of an inspiring thing, because I'm a person that needs to see something in order to think like, oh yeah, I really like that kind of idea, where the creative person will contact you and give you exactly what they want. And so this gives you an opportunity to say, oh, I really like this, but I want to change this, or I want to add that. And so it gives me the freedom to list different options without actually having to carve the part. So you're not have a lot of inventory, but it gives your customers an opportunity to see what you can do.
Mm-hmm. Do you have any resource or tool that you use in the business that just makes your life easier?
I'm trying to think. I focus a lot on, like your Facebook group has been really key in helping me understand a lot of the different aspects of how the CNC is being used by other people. Mm-hmm. I like the Vetric.com. It is dedicated to making models for CNC. I like just browsing on the internet. It's a wealth of information. You can just kind of Google in whatever you're looking for, popular ideas for Christmas or things like that, where you can get ideas.
That's awesome. Yeah, I use both of those sites, and thanks for the plug for the Facebook group. Yeah, it's I'm really happy and surprised at how quickly that group is grown. We just hit 1,600 members last week, and in March we had 100. So,
and I saw that. And what's really great about that is that people have reached out to me. I'm kind of a woman in what I feel to be like a man's thing. There's just like there are some really great female hunters, but if you think about hunters, you always think about men. And so I have found that your group has been very supportive to me. I'm just really encouraged by how the other team members have, either commented on my work or asked for help, and so it's really kind of been a safe place to really engage with other CNC people. So I'm really thankful for your group, actually.
Oh, you're welcome. It's my pleasure, and the thing I like the most about it is that everybody shares. So far, in the months that we've had it, there haven't been any real jerks on the group. Everybody seems to want to help, and it's kind of rare. So I'm really proud that is the type of community that we've got going right now.
It's amazing. The individuals and in that group is just phenomenal, and I'm just amazed by the different talent. I mean, I knew there were wood signs, but I couldn't believe what people are thinking about in creating in the wood signs or furniture. I've seen some of your work, and it's just like it's inspiring. and I really enjoy spending time. I don't post a lot. I'm just one of those behind-the-scenes watchers.
Oh, well, you know what? Our community is better just for having you around. I really do believe that. Okay. We've been talking with Brian and Johanna Haack, and their fantastic shop, the woodgraingallery.com, and their Etsy store. If you have a comment or a question for them, please leave a comment on the CNC Router Tips .com under this episode, and or leave a comment in iTunes, and we'll do what we can to make sure that they see it. If you'd like to have them do some custom work for you, you can go on their Etsy page and sign up. So thank you so much to both of you for coming on the show.
It was a pleasure. It was a pleasure. Thank you so much for encouraging me to do this. It's not nearly as hard as you might think it is, and I'm encouraging others, especially in the CNC group, to step forward and talk with you. It's been great.
Yeah, you've been very gracious, Bill. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. It's been a total pleasure. I hope you enjoyed our talk with Johanna and Brian Haack from the woodgraingallery.com. I hope you learned some things about what it takes to work together to build a business. I know that they doubled down and bet on each other, and they're building their dream business together, and that's a really cool thing. If you like this type of episode, why not let us know? You can reach me on Twitter at Bill Griggs. On iTunes, you can leave a comment, a rating, or a review. I often mention many different types of software during the episodes, and hardware and cutters, and it can get a little confusing. So what I did was I put together a page on my website, cncroutertips.com/resources. And on that page, I list all sorts of resources there, from books to tools to software, all the things that I use that make my CNC experience better and easier. And I hope you'll check it out. So again, it's cncroutertips.com/resources. Now, if you'd like to have your question featured on the air, here's how. Need help? Ask me about your CNC router question on my podcast, the CNC Router Tips Podcast. I'll be glad to help, or try and get you the help you need. I want this podcast to be a fun and personal experience for everyone, and helpful. So let's keep it real and ask sensible questions. Please use common sense and show courtesy to everyone. That way everybody wins. Here are some guidelines to ensure that your question is qualified to be featured on the show. Please keep your questions under 1 minute in length. If it goes a little over that, that's fine, but don't ramble. If you have a website and URL, you're allowed to share it, but only once during the recording. Spammy or disrespectful or deeply private questions will not be considered for the podcast. If you need to ask more than one question, just make each question a separate voicemail. Thanks again, everyone, for tuning in and listening to the CNC Router Tips podcast. If you'd like to join our free mailing list, you can go to cncroutertips.com, and there's a link right there on the top of the page which tells you how to do that. Thank you so much, and have a great day.